Hello and welcome to another movie review. If there's one thing I like more than movies, it's professional wrestling, baby. I have finally gotten around to watching the Iron Claw, the big hit movie of late 2023. I was going to go see it in theaters, but I missed out because something happened. I forgot what it was, but it's on Max now. Oh boy. What a movie it is. Now, I already knew the gist of it going into it. I heard all the reviews and all the comments and all the things about it. I knew it was going to be sad. And being a professional wrestling fan, I knew a little bit about the Von Erichs beforehand, and I knew their story is a bit of a slippery slope. But oh man, this movie is just so depressing to watch, but it's so powerful and kind of beautiful at the same time. First off, shout out to Zac Efron, who got absolutely snubbed at the Oscars. That man at least deserved to be nominated. Kevin Von Erich, such a main character that has to suck in all this tragedy around him, and I don't know how the movie didn't get nominated for anything at all. Just even the way it's shot, it's real cool. It has like a cozy home feeling despite all the things going around it. But yeah, shout out to Zac Efron, who does a great job as Kevin Von Erich. Other themes in this movie, besides tragedy striking in every other given moment, it seems, is, bonding with your brothers and family, and also toxic masculinity, pushing through things and going through things even though you're not quite fully in the right headspace to do said things, but keep on keeping on anyways. The main villain, in a way, not really a villain, but kind of the driving force behind just these things happening, is the father, Fritz Von Erich. He's pushing his boys to be tough, not show any emotion, really just demonstrating like the toughest of tough love. Definitely an old-fashioned guy. Dudes, take a step back and chill out a little bit. One thing I really enjoy is that the Von Erich brothers, they all have the same characteristics, like, the nice hair, the big old bodies, but they're fleshed out enough to where you see a different side of each of them and how they even fit into the wrestling business. Kevin Von Erich obviously is like the first wrestler after his father hopping in there. Then you have David Von Erich, who's just having his first match and he can cut a better promo than his brother Kevin. Then there's Kerry, an Olympic athlete, but because the Olympics are a no-go, he hops right into wrestling and fits perfectly right in, pretty much. And then you have their other brother Mike, who doesn't really do much with the whole wrestling thing, but he likes entertainment, he likes music, but his dad's like, you gotta get big and strong and tough, and you're maybe gonna join the wrestling business. I don't know, you better think about it. Each Von Erich brother has their own story, but of course we mainly follow along with Kevin, but everything is just tied together so nicely, where even when they're all together or all separate, you pick away at it, and it just is really enjoyable to see their characters grow and change and just go through things throughout the movie. Obviously, a lot of grief in there as well. The poor mother has to freaking sit through, like 3 or 4 funerals. One of the Von Erichs, Jack Jr., died when he was just 5 years old. Kevin goes on a date with this lady named Pam, and on their first date, she asks, how did it feel, losing your brother so young? And the line Zac Efron delivers when he goes, he just wasn't there to play with one day.
He just wasn't there to play with one day.
Ooh, I wrote that one down in my notes because I'm like, wow, that's a brutal line right there. And then we move on to the other brother, David, who he's the next one to go, and he's getting this big push. He's the one chosen to fight Flair for the World Championship. He's touring in Japan, and he's having some issues with his stomach during Kevin's wedding. Kevin's like, yeah, you slow down. And he's like, nah, don't, just forget about it. And of course, they get a phone call, ruptured intestine or something like that, or something burst, and killed him in his hotel room, and that is just an absolute bummer. Moving on to not a death, but another tragic accident. Kerry Von Erich, he wins the World Championship. He's having a few drinks, then he goes out for a late night ride on his motorcycle, gets into an accident because the next thing we see, he's getting out of bed, he has crutches, and his foot is no longer there. He had to have it amputated. And because the brothers are dropping like flies, Mike is now training to get into the ring. Their dad is the toughest on him because he's like the last one to kind of get into shape, and he's more focused on other stuff like music, and he likes the camera angles, but the dad's like, no, we gotta be manly, sports, wrestling only, forget all that other stuff. So Kevin Von Erich is training his brother Mike. Their first match in, he's hitting a few drop kicks, and he messes up his shoulder really bad, has to have surgery, and goes into shock in the middle of surgery and slips into a coma. Dear God, this family can't catch a break. Mike is no longer in a coma, but during a press conference, he is just not looking too well, and eventually he goes on to take a bottle of pills, down a bottle of alcohol, and it's just, you know how that goes. And then we go back to Kerry Von Erich. He's got a prosthetic foot. He's known as the Texas Tornado, or, Kerry Von Erich in the WWF. He's won the Intercontinental Championship. But then one night he calls up Kevin from a hotel room saying they're going to put me on the house shows, which if you don't know that, it's like not the live televised stuff, just the touring things. And they're saying that they don't want him anymore. And Kevin tries to help him, but Carrie hangs up before he can offer any more help. Again, here's where the dad comes into play.
We need to figure out how to help him, okay?
You boys need to work it out between yourselves.
He tells his dad, hey, watch out for Carrie, man. He doesn't sound like he's in too good of a place right now. And next time we see Carrie, he's at the family's house. Kevin's looking for him. Here's a gunshot. And of course, Carrie has taken his own life. And it's another brother down. And, you know, obviously Kevin's pissed.
I told you to look out for him! You didn't take care of him! You didn't take care of any of them! He called you!
And again, just another shout out to Zac Efron. Just all these things happening. And you can just see the look on his face. He portrays the emotions so well. He is just like, he's built like a goddamn rock, but there are just tears flowing, and he's just like, geez, man, come on. He's convinced that his family's cursed, and they even bring up the curse of the Von Erichs, like, a few times throughout the movie. At one point, he tells his wife, Pam, that he wants to have some space between him and her and their son. He even goes to sleep in his dad's office, where his dad runs WCCW. Speaking of, towards the end of the movie, his dad hands over WCCW to Kevin. He's like, hey, don't sell it. Do not sell it. And of course, the ratings aren't really doing well. The numbers ain't looking too good. So of course, the offer's on the table to sell it, but his dad's just still pushing, don't you dare. He is just the, like, poster child for toxic masculinity. He is obsessed with the NWA Championship. He never got his hands on it, so he's determined to send his boys one after another if he has to go after that championship, even if it's slowly killing him, which it is. And oh my god, dude, what a mess of a family that clearly they all love each other, tough love or not, but like, it is just a rough one. One thing that happens after each brother dies is that Kevin finds a note or a postcard left after he hears the news that they are dead. He finds a postcard that David sent from Japan after hearing the news that his brother is dead.
I'll probably be home by the time you get this, so this is stupid, but see you soon.
And then the note that Mike leaves after he overdoses and drinks.
I'm sorry if I hurt you, but I'm going to a better place.
And finally, there's Carrie's note.
I don't know what's on the other side, but I can't be here anymore. Tonight I walk with my brothers.
Each note is just like a, ooh, right to the chest, just like, damn, bro. And, oh, dude, I don't know everything that's exactly pulled from real life put in the movie. I don't know if the notes are real. I didn't do any research or anything like that. I know a little bit of it, but not too much to be like, well, actually, this is how it happened. I'm just kind of going along with what the movie's given me. And it's just so, like, cool, but also just rough at the same time to see the notes one after another. I'm going to speak a little about Doris Von Erich, the mother. She is just going through it. I believe it's maybe either the second or the third funeral, and she sees her outfit on her bed. She's like, they're gonna recognize it. I gotta get a new outfit. And that's just like, oh my god, that just... Now, Doris doesn't play a huge part in the movie, but every time she's on screen, you can tell she's also sort of bottling up emotions until, you know, it's just too much to take. I don't know if it was just me, but throughout the movie, like, each step of the way, every time we see her next, it's like her soul is just slowly fading away from her, and she's just like, I mean, what more could happen now? Just very underrated performance. She's not in it a whole bunch, but every time she is, you see every emotion that's on her face. She's very calm and quiet, but also, like, even scenes where she doesn't say anything, you're like, she's going through it. In her head, she's probably millions of thoughts just like, oh dear god, what's going on? At the end of the movie, Kevin does sell WCCW. He just had a match with Ric Flair for the World Championship where he lost by disqualification because he put the Iron Claw on Ric Flair, and even when he grabbed the ropes, referee was like, hey, you got the ropes, get off. Kept the Iron Claw on. Disappointed his dad and Carrie as well earlier on. He's focusing on being a dad. He has 2 boys, and Pam, his wife, is also pregnant again. And at the very end of the movie, we see him sitting down, watching his 2 boys play with a football. He's crying. His kids run up to him. He's like, what's the matter? Do you know why you're sad, Dad? You know, it's okay to cry.
I used to be a brother. And, now I'm not a brother anymore.
And his 2 kids go, we'll be your brother's dad. And it's just, oh, damn, man. That is just, what a way to end your movie right there. Now, obviously, I've gone through pretty much all of the key points, you know, the big tragedies and all the emotions flying through. But a couple little highlights. I like how they kind of explain the wrestling business and how things work. to where if someone saw this and they're not a wrestling fan, or they are but not really familiar with too much of it, you know, they explain that, like, hey, it's not fake, but it's kind of like any other job, you know? It's based on your performance. You do good, the crowd loves you. You move up and win a championship until you get to that world championship. And who knows, maybe if some people weren't into wrestling but saw this, maybe they did a little bit more research, and now maybe the Iron Claw made some new wrestling fans. That's pretty cool to think about, in my opinion. Going back to Zac Efron's performance now, the character of Kevin Von Erich, just seeing his opportunity arrive but then get passed up because David is doing better on the mic. Then Kerry gets David's championship match, and Kevin again is like passed up. Then later on, we even see him tagging with Lance Von Erich, who's played by Maxwell Jacob Friedman, the Salt of the Earth. They're in a tag match. Lance is kind of on fire. He's not tagging Kevin in, but Kevin's still on the apron, just like, yay, we won, aha, yeah, still has a smile on. And throughout the whole movie, even though opportunities are passing him up, even though he was like the first of the Von Erich brothers to start in the whole wrestling thing after their dad, he still has a smile on his face. He's like, hey, I admit, didn't take it too well, but I am proud of you. You look good out there. Still very supportive. There's not a single point where jealousy really gets to him and he does something crazy. Very loving brother, even though there's just so much shit hitting him. So again, shout out to Zac Efron and just the character and person, Kevin Von Erich, you know? Very, very solid stuff. At the very end, we get a little update on the Von Erichs. Kevin and Pam are still married after 40 years. They have a ranch like they talked about in the movie, and everyone, their 13, I believe, grandchildren live with them on the ranch like they talked about. Kevin Von Erich was so in love with being a brother, and he loved his brothers. He's like, I love my brothers. I don't care what I'm doing. As long as I'm with them, I'm having a good time. And then at the end, I'm not a brother anymore. Holy hell. Clearly, I'm not going to do this movie justice. Go and watch The Iron Claw. One of my main takeaways is that I really thought I was going to love this thing, and I still do love this movie. It does feel like it's missing something. I have no earthly idea what it is. Maybe it was because it was pretty much all sad for the most part. Maybe it's because I wish I got to see a little bit more, because I know there is definitely more to the story, but obviously, you know, 2 hours, decent length for a movie. They probably couldn't add 30, 45 minutes worth of other stuff, even though it probably still would have made for a good movie. But I get why they kind of kept it what it was. It just feels like it's missing something. I don't know what, but I still really loved the movie and enjoyed it. Maybe after a second watch, I'd boost it up like an extra star or something. But that is my review for The Iron Claw. Make sure you go check out the movie. And more movie reviews to come. I'm going to start doing some polls in the community tab. Maybe I'll give like 3 options of like, hey, what movie do you want me to look at? I'm also going to try to bring a series that I had on my main channel over to here called My Friend Made Me Watch, where I grab one of my friends, be like, give me a movie to watch. No matter what it is, I have to watch it and do a little rundown of it. And sometimes they give me absolute garbage. Sometimes they give me a masterpiece. One of my friends gave me Black Swan. Never thought I'd ever see Black Swan, but oh my god, is Black Swan pretty freaking good. So stay tuned for content galore from this channel, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.